Just cursing to myself there as I grabbed the water just as I pressed publish. Why do I do that every single time? Hi gang, how's it going? It's Tara. I hope you're all good. It's the Friday takeaway. I'm happy to say another week is down and we've survived it, and I must say I have the heating on. Has anyone else got the heating on? I have the heating on. I'm frozen. My husband's French and he's in a slight state of depression over the weather. Like, it's almost June and I have the heat on, like I'm frozen. But anyway, I'm a cold creature anyway. I hope you're good and you had a good week, gang. I had a busy old week. Now this week, sure, every week is busy. But really, the big thing for me this week was feeling the space after pausing the marketplace, which I know a lot of you guys know already that I paused the marketplace project. And this week I really felt that space between me and the stress that only when you're out of it you realize you've been in it. And I really felt that gap this week, which was mind-opening for sure, and really felt good, and a little bit scary, to be honest, of having that space to think about other things. So it was an insightful week, and I hope you had a good week wherever you are, and you're ready to relax and do some whatever good things or interesting things that you've planned over the weekend. And hopefully we'll be able to be saying on some of these lives, oh, I was at this lovely restaurant there, or oh, I went here and hugged somebody soon. It's coming, gang. We can feel it, can't we? And it just feels great just to get out of the rabbit hole we've been in for so long. It feels like an eternity. So anyway, this Friday we are talking to a lady that creates content for a living. And we all know how important creating content is. And if you're going, what the hell do you mean by content, Tara? Content is everything we create to put ourselves forward. So it's either our blog posts, what we write on our website, our emails, our social media posts, the graphics that we use for social media. And because we just launched a new product, actually, if you haven't heard, you probably have, but if you haven't, we have a new product launched. This is week 2 now. And it's basically made for you templates for social media plus a content plan. And this really is something I felt very passionate about putting together, because I know how difficult it is when you sit down to create content and you haven't got a clue what you're trying to say, and you find it difficult to even curate your feed with what you want it to look like. So these templates are a really great starting point for anyone that's stuck on that. And the link is in the bio if you're interested in learning more about that. So this prompted me to look at who's out there providing a service for people to take away that pain point. And as you grow your business, gang, and as you get busier making, your main objective is to fill the gaps with people that can actually serve you with the thing you're getting stuck on. And this is why this lady really popped out at me, because she has services like, I'm just reading her website there now, her services are blogs and social media. So she writes all the content stuff for your blogs and your social media, website and copy and SEO. And then I went, that's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about SEO, not the generic SEO like that. And if you're going, what's SEO? It's called search engine optimization, SEO, and basically it's the words that you use, and she'll explain it much better than me, the words that you use to get found on social media and with Google and all those searchy engine-y things. So I'm interested in talking about that specifically today around Instagram, which is something really interesting and powerful for us moving forward, being users of Instagram and having our businesses on Instagram, and understanding that SEO is a thing. And as far as I can see, it's something they're really leaning into moving the platform towards. I'm really excited to get Emily on to talk to us about this. And I'm going to let her on there now. I must just find her in the comments to see where she is. And you can follow her. M Content Creative, there she is, and we'll bring her on there now and she can talk to us about SEO and Instagram and how all this works. So I'll press that. Create Content. You can follow her on Instagram and check her out. And she's living down in lovely Wexford. I'm jealous of. I'm mad to get out of the city, gang, I think. There she is.
Hi.
Hello, Mrs.
How are you?
How are you? Lovely to virtually meet you.
Oh, I know. And I've been following you for so long, so it's great to actually talk to you in real time.
I know. It's so nice. It's so nice. So do you go by M, or how do people call you name-wise?
I've been called M by everyone forever, so that's
Okay.
kind of, M is good. But like, Emily is my name. I'm not offended if someone calls me Emily. So,
Okay.
but
I always think, you know, it's very formal when you think, have I done something wrong, Emily? Like when you feel like a child.
I know my mum giving out to me or something, but even she calls me M. So there you go.
There you go. Well, that's great, Em. That's great. Well, I'll definitely call you Em then. I wasn't 100% sure.
It's always good.
Your business is quite new, isn't it? Did you started quite recently?
Yeah, so I started kind of like January, February of last year, so just before the pandemic hit, and you're kind of thinking at the time, is this a really silly idea? Like, is this the time to do it? But it turned out that everyone was interested at the time with moving their businesses online or trying to figure out another source of income because their worlds were turned upside down and things were closing down. Like, that stability was completely taken away from everyone, and that's when I started. So it seemed like a risky move, but it actually was probably luck. I was lucky. I think that was the time I decided to start looking into having my own business. Some people were like, you're crazy to do it now, but I think if you understand where everything was going,
yeah,
which I did at the time, I could see it.
Yeah,
that it was going to be moving in that direction. So
you know what I think as well, though. I think a lot of people, no matter when you're starting a business, if you're leaving a secure job, they'll always say, "You're mad, you're crazy.
Yeah.
That's a fine pensionable job." You're like, "No,
yeah.
I don't want to do it anymore."
I know, and
yeah.
I'm like, I don't care what people think, but it's the comments that you lie away. You're lying there going, who's right? Am I right, or are they right? Like, I don't know who's right, but you just have to stick with it.
Definitely, and follow the gut with it, don't you?
Totally. And it kind of came up because I was doing more generic work at the time, like virtual assisting, you know, like a range of things, but I kept seeing the same pain points. I kept seeing the same thing people were coming to me with. And it almost, the niche just developed itself rather than me really having to search for it, because I was like, wait, 90% of my jobs, the jobs that I'm getting are, they want to know more about blogging, they want to know more about SEO and start to build an online presence. So I was like, okay, I guess this is what my business is now.
Brilliant. So you were listening and reacting accordingly. I love that. And that's such a great point. Like when you're running your business, I always say this, and we talked about it last week as well on the Friday Live. Your business evolves as you run your business, like, and as the market is talking to you, and just paying attention and not thinking, I've figured out this is what I'm doing. Well, what are they needing from you? And like for artists in my community, you know, there's always this kind of struggle with, I'm not changing what I do for a market. Feck that for a game of soldiers. Like, and I totally understand that and get it. But I definitely think if somebody wants it in that type of frame or that finish, then can you do a version of it, like, and have two offerings rather than, no, I'm not, like, no. And I definitely think there has to be, in business, we have to be able to adjust, don't we, and react.
100%. And it's such a good point, and it's a point that I'm going to make when we start talking about really diving into the SEO stuff, is that it's hard for people to remember that your business, although it's very close to you, so you feel very protective and it's very personal to you, it's not really about you, because at the end of the day, whether you're offering a product or a service, not that I'm saying they're problems, but you're solving something for someone, not for yourself. So if you're not listening and you're very headstrong and you're like, I had a vision for my business and this is what I want it to be, it could actually end up biting you in the butt at some stage, because you're not listening to your market. And your audience is going to feel that because you're not speaking to them. You're kind of just in your own, you're doing your own thing. But an ideal clients and your target audience is such a huge part of your business and SEO. So it's kind of giving up a little bit. Like I don't know. I get it, because you are your business. It's like you put everything into it, and it can be hard to accept that it isn't really about you. But
That's
it
right.
is.
But you're so right. And you know, and it's tough love with these conversations too, because, you know, and something I learned very, very quickly when I opened my first business a long time ago. And I thought, you know, thankfully youth has its like no fear and yay, I'm just going to swan around a restaurant and talk to everybody and it'll be brilliant, like, you know. And the reality is something quite different and intense and, you know, hard, like, and that's something that you have to be aware of as well with business. And sometimes you have to do things that you mightn't really necessarily jump up and down about, but in the overall strategy of what you're trying to create, which is a profitable business where you're engaging and really building a business you're proud of, you have to kind of make allowances for certain elements of your business as well. Talk to us about that SEO thing.
Sure. I'm so happy to. I could talk about it kind of all day. Now I mean, anyone who's watching or anyone's watching back, just like a very, very, very brief overview of what it basically is. And this is not for social media. This is just SEO. What it is, it's an organic marketing strategy which helps us increase our visibility to our target audience. Now that can be through social media, where we actually are using social media almost like its own search engine, which is what we're going to talk about. What can we do with Instagram so that when people are on Instagram, how are people finding us, rather than finding us through Google, which is basically what SEO was from the start. There's different factors involved with both. Google kind of requires a lot from us, and I feel like we jump through hoops. I mean, with SEO, you kind of feel like you're jumping through hoops because things evolve and things change, and what they expect from you is different. And the same, everyone kind of curses the algorithm, and it's the exact same thing with social media. It's what works now might not work in a month, and I think that is what deters people from even attempting it. It's like they feel like they can learn it, implement it, and see the results. And with SEO, it's not that simple, and it is. I do it for my business and I love it, but I'm trying to always look at it from the perspective of someone who wants to just have a business that's searchable and that they can grow their audience and that they're getting the right people in front of them. And it sounds like a mammoth task and a full-time job at times, but it doesn't have to be. And there's definitely things that we can, I actually wrote loads of notes just because there's like actionable steps that people can take.
Brilliant.
Optimize their Instagram, and this is specifically for Instagram, but just anything else like overview of SEO. Not really, that's basically it in a nutshell. It's just about gaining visibility.
That's the main thing, isn't it? Like, and sometimes, and I think as well, a lot of the time when we hear SEO, we just go, oh, it's like Google Analytics, vomit. Like people just go, no, I don't want to do it. I can barely do social media, which you feck off with your SEO.
Totally.
And that's why I wanted to bring and make it connectable for people that are on Instagram. And so, you know, just before we do that, I think, you know, the key areas that SEO actually exists in. So would it be like your website, to Facebook?
Yeah, so I think your website is, I would say, it. I think a lot of, just with SEO and websites, I think the common mistake people make is that they design a beautiful website. Even if they are optimizing their homepage, like they've looked up keywords, say, and they're optimizing their home, about, and services page, and they kind of think their job is done. That's like throwing spaghetti against a wall and seeing if something sticks. It's like having a shop down an alley. There's so many things you need to do from the get-go to help with that. But blogging is, if you have a website, you have to, and I'm not saying, and I think sometimes I always have to put a disclaimer, I'm not saying you need me to, I'm not trying to pitch my services. Go do it yourself, get someone else. If you have a website, you need to be consistently blogging and putting new information on it, because that's where you're going to increase your visibility and start kind of generating traffic through Google. Google wants to see that it's an active website And it just gives more opportunities to use those keywords, and you can experiment that way and see kind of what's working.
Can you hack that by repurposing old blog posts and updating them and changing images, and like can you hack that consistent blog? Yeah,
Of
I'm big
course.
into hacking stuff.
Oh
Like,
no, like, but actually, I kind of reverse it. What I tend to do for clients and myself is I spend the time writing like two blog posts a month. You can get a month's worth of content out of 2 blogs a month
yeah.
because you can actually repurpose the blog for Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter,
But
emails.
what I mean is, would you suggest, because I always say, like, the big thing for makers and small businesses is going, fucking hell, like 2 blog posts a month, that's a lot to actually sit down to
Mm.
write. Um, like if you created, say, 3 really good blog posts, right? Can you repurpose them? Like, would you suggest, say you've the top 5, gift guide for Christmas, right? And then you have that done, and then you're coming up to the next, like, Father's Day, and you have that Christmas guide done, and you're going, well, I'll do 3 guides, and then you just keep repurposing them and editing them each year for
Mm.
that season. Would you?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, you
Okay.
can. And that's kind of where using plugins like Yoast comes in, where you can just pick a new key phrase and it will give you instructions on how to optimize it for that key phrase.
Yeah.
So it's tweaking it. Yeah, making sure your
Yeah.
headings are different. Your images are different. Yeah. Oh no, 100%.
Yeah, and images as well. Like for
Yeah.
actually naming your images keywords, not the tree in the dark forest. And I see this
Yeah.
all the time. Or 1, 2, 3, 4 dark forest version 8 million. It's the keyword that you have, and the keyword is like something that you want to be found for, isn't it?
Absolutely, and
Yeah.
that's where alt text comes in, and it's something that I was going to mention because that we can do that on Instagram as well.
Okay.
Just for anyone who's not familiar with what we're kind of mentioning there is alt text it actually was made for visually impaired people for when their website. So if they're on a website, they could have like a page of a website read to them or like an article. But Google doesn't have eyes. Stupid thing
Yeah.
to say, but it reads. So if you could describe an image to Google and say this is what this image represents or this is what this image is, it can kind of, I think the SEO marketers kind of took that and kind of made it into, like, utilized it basically for themselves. But you kind of need it to be relevant to the image. But I mean, I always just put in what the key phrase is.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what you want to be ranking for. Like if it's loosely based on it, you can kind of tweak it. But that's where that came from, and it's definitely on your website you can do it on, but you can also do it on Instagram. And with Instagram, basically it hasn't been known over the years to be the most advanced when it comes to SEO. It's getting better. I think that's something you mentioned at the start. And one of the things they have improved on is actually making those alt texts searchable on Instagram. So if you were looking for sunsets, that's a silly example, but or whatever your product is, if you've described the image, it will actually show you as a result, nothing to do with your caption or your hashtags, but actually because you've created that alt text description for your images.
Where do you where where do you do this now?
Okay.
This alti bit.
I wish I could.
Share
I
the
wish I had
screen.
my laptop on my lap. I have it like a screenshot of it. I'll show you. Maybe you can share it on your story or something. But
Yeah.
it takes 2 seconds to do it. When you're uploading the actual caption, there's an option, like it's in settings. I can't even remember what it is. You know, you need to be doing it.
I know.
But
But do share it with me, and I can put it on. I can put
yeah.
it in the comments underneath this video of how to do that. So basically, when you're uploading your image, there's a function there that you can press to add an alt thingy, or just a name, is it, onto the image?
Yeah, basically just like a short description for the image. And that is now Instagram have decided to use that as, like, if you have that, it's actually searchable now. It wasn't before. They made a lot of changes towards the end of last year, but it's a great little thing. And a lot of the tips that I'm going to give, again, I'm just like, if I look over here, it's because I just want to make sure that I'm covering the things that I really think are going to be valuable. if you just get into a routine of doing these things and it's just a part of your checklist of when you're uploading new captions, it won't even feel like extra work. Like that takes 2 seconds, you know, and just do it going forward. So, but yeah, I'll definitely send that to you.
So hit us with the what should we do then?
Okay, cool. So yeah, alt text geotags. So, and I'm a devil for this because my advice is not what I do because I put big areas in. Like I'll often put in Dublin or Wexford. We really should be focusing on more districts where there's a smaller group of people where the competition wouldn't be so much higher.
Just go back there now. Sorry,
sure.
Just go back and explain what geotagging actually
is first. So geotagging is just updating your location on your caption. So like you'll see on a caption your name and or your username, and then under it will give like a location.
Yeah.
So you can change the location when you're uploading a new post. A lot of people will always pick the same, like where they are. Like that kind of makes sense. Like like right now I'm in Cloran. Shouldn't I just be putting Cloran in? But you have to think about it. People actually search by location in Instagram. So you need to think about where your target audience is. And I'm not saying lie and say you're in Thailand when you're in Wexford.
Yeah.
But you can pick different districts in your area. So that when people are searching that area for businesses or accounts to follow, they'll find you.
So be more specific, like Dunleary, Dublin, or
Dunleary is a perfect example.
And it brings you right in. And is it that people? Because I was always wondering with that, is that for when are people saying looking for artists in Dunleary or art of Dunleary when they're searching like that, or is it that they're in the location of Dunleary and that they're looking for somebody?
Yeah, it's not that specific. It will literally just be someone who wants to find out who have tagged themselves as being in Dunleary. So they'll get all accounts that have featured that. Which some people like to do for various reasons, but it takes 2 seconds. Even if you got one client from it or one person,
and you just kind of test it, then wouldn't you?
Test it. That's a huge thing, which I'll definitely touch on as well, is testing and monitoring all those things. But definitely mix it up. And just see what traction you're getting. And again, these things are 2 second things. They take.
So the first one was the alt text. So that's I'm gonna share, lads, in the comments of this IGTV. I'm gonna share the screenshot. Emma's gonna share it with me. So if you're wondering, I don't know what an alt text thingy is, we'll share a screenshot for that. And then the second one is the geolocation, which is the little location-y thingy underneath your name that you can click into and change. So just experiment with different areas and be more specific rather than Ireland or Europe. Like
exactly, because there's no chance in hell you're going to show up. So just keep bearing in mind, it all goes back to thinking what the person's searching for. So small area. Dunleary is actually literally a perfect example because it's big enough, but it's a district at the end of the day. It's an area. So,
brilliant.
Those are two. Then just like talking about hashtags for a second, because the bane of my life are hashtags. So hashtags kind of stopped working for a while. Again, this is like an algorithm thing. It's Instagram basically saying we're not actually focusing on hashtags anymore. We're focusing. I mean, Reels was a huge thing. Everyone knows Reels exploded. And it's their way of saying, listen, this is actually our priority of what we consider important. That's basically all it was. It stopped working. I used to put up posts, I experimented with it as well, and I put up a post without a hashtag and I put a post with 25 hashtags, and one wouldn't do worse or better than the other. So they weren't working.
So, oh my God. So I've been going, we've been shadow banned, like we're like, oh my God.
No, it's not working.
I'm changing my reels.
And it's disheartening. And this goes back to jumping through hoops. This is why I consult with a social media manager all the time, because I don't have the energy or the time to stay on top of a lot of this stuff. So, because you can't. Like, I just feel like once you get used to one thing, they take it away. It's not important. But good news is that they're starting to come back again. There is improvements, and that's directly from someone that works in social media. Like, she's a social media manager. She told me yesterday when I was preparing for this.
So this is really an important message, isn't it? That because I know there's a lot of people freaking out, going, "My stuff, what am I doing?" Of course, we blame ourselves. Yeah, what am I doing wrong?
Yeah,
But
my
actually,
content's bad. Or
but it's interesting, isn't it, that they take away something like that, but they're telling us stuff too with that, aren't they? They're like,
yeah.
And is it the SEO thing that they're going, pay attention, we're going to shift stuff up? Are they getting us ready for that, I wonder?
They are. It's kind of sometimes what is the method and the madness of it all? I don't like you could probably research it till the cows come home and come up with like, why are they doing that? It's the same with like, why are they releasing certain features to certain countries first? Why are they testing it on America? And I think like my friend in Israel and my other friend in Slovakia had it before me, and I was like, but how have they come up with that? So sometimes it's you're better off to maybe not like just like kind of kill yourself over it, but they are making, the most important thing to know is that they do look like they're picking up again.
Okay.
And just some things about like tips on using hashtags.
Yeah.
I know this stuff, but you're like, I just don't want to forget anything. But basically, if you're a brand new business, this is a really important thing. If you're kind of a new business, don't start off with hashtags that are like 500,000 plus mentions. So that number is how many people are using the hashtag. Start smaller. So I would start almost making little kind of batches of different hashtags. So like have ones that are like between 5 and 10,000 people are using them, and then maybe have another one that's 40 plus, I don't know, whatever numbers. Start smaller, because you have more chances of, it's like competition at the end of the day. And if you associate that with the way we look at keywords, you're not going to rank for a keyword on Google that 1.7 million people are using on a weekly basis. You need to find low competition to be able to have any chance. And it's the same with hashtags. So I think I shared this with you actually in one of the slides that I was just showing you, was showing you ones I rank for that are really low, but it doesn't matter how low it is because I'm at the top. So you need to start small and then build it up. So that's just one thing. Also, if you have two types of ideal clients or target markets, separate those two into different clusters of hashtags and use them depending on what type of post you're posting.
Excellent. I love that.
And this is a really important thing with Instagram as well, because Instagram wants to know that your hashtags are related to your content and that you're not using them in a spammy way, the same way you would maybe keyword stuff. It's like, it's very obvious that you're just trying to get something. But when they relate to what you're talking about, they're going to go, okay, here she's using these hashtags and this is her content. This all makes sense together. She needs to be on, or he, sorry, I'm just saying she for me. She needs to be shown then for that hashtag because it's all relevant. And I think that's something that people kind of forget. And I think when people do have multiple target audiences, which is normal depending on what you offer. For example, I offer services for brand new business owners, but also established business owners. They'll have separate, they might have separate key phrases, hashtags and key phrases. But that's important. I would definitely separate them all out by volume. And then also by topics or just by your ideal client.
And should you always use all the hashtags then from would you recommend like the 30 hashtags you should use under each post?
Yeah, I've talked to multiple people about this. I think 30 is still fine. As far as I know, 30 is still what people are using, maybe 28. And you can use Flick. Is that what it's called? Flick. Yeah, Flick is the it helps you basically just pick the right hashtags for your industry.
Okay.
Is it Flick or Flickr? I'm trying to remember.
Flickr is the photo app, isn't it? So it must be Flick.
So it must be Flick.
There's so many of them. There's so many, girl. Like, your head would be melted.
And they never relate to what it is. So I'm always like, what is it called?
I know.
And the other thing is, which again, a social media manager told me yesterday, is another thing. What is it called? Ninjalytics, which actually shows you hashtags that your competitors use. So
we'll leave the link for that underneath. I'll grab the link for that as well.
I can compile a little list of the few ones.
Cool. So far we're talking about for new people joining, we're talking about SEO, but specifically SEO for Instagram, because we're on this platform right now, and how to use and where you can use it as well. So we talked about the tags for your posts, and we talked about the geolocation, which all help you to get found, which is what SEO is all about. Then hashtags, so it's categorizing hashtags into underneath each ideal client category, and not to go big, huge with the numbers, kind of keep it country.
Mhm.
So that's great. That's hashtags. That's number 3. And
Number 3? Number 4 is number 4 is okay, so it's actually about your caption content. So again, this is something that really changed as of last year, where Instagram weren't really focusing on what you actually said in the content. They were just focused on where you were and what hashtags you were using, and that's how they showed you to anyone. Now they are taking keywords from the content and they're counting that in how they show you to people. So this is huge, because they were always aware of what you were writing, because they were always making sure that it was relevant to the hashtags, but they weren't using your content to help you gain visibility, basically. So that's making sure that it's SEO optimized and using keywords that you know that your ideal customers and clients would search for.
Spending time finding your keywords is actually really important now more than ever for Instagram. And it's something that I read recently as well, was, people are saying that, like, Instagram are, is it going to be the new Google? Because people are coming on here to find things. So now is the time to really optimize and understand. Hang on a second, I have to get my head around this SEO stuff, like the keyword stuff, putting it into as many places as I can, and being mindful of my content. So that's the what I'm talking about next to my lovely image, that there's actual keywords in there as well. So mini blogs then.
Yeah, and this is something I can just see someone's comment there, like, does it mean kind of more longer form content on Instagram? And that's something that may change, but as in going from kind of snappy, very much emoji driven, things, rather than longer form content on Instagram. I always write long form content on Instagram. I just always have. Do I think that everyone who likes my comment is liking it for the content and not the picture? No, they don't. They're probably not reading it. But I know I'm doing everything I need to be doing from an SEO perspective and from a visibility perspective. And I think if you're not ready to invest in a website, say, and really focus on blogging and focus on all those other things, if you really want to push SEO for Instagram, then making it a little bit more longer form content and making sure that it's optimized is a great way to focus your time. And that's something that you mentioned at the start. We don't have a million hours in the day, and a lot of the time it's like, what do I delegate? If you're looking to keep your tasks small at this stage and you want to focus on one thing, definitely start with your captions.
Yeah. Okay. So it's captions. So, and you can also, like, if you're posting every day, you can kind of mix it up as well, can't you? Like, to have 2 long ones and a few kind of more snappier ones, just to stay ahead, like.
And also, this goes back to, like, trying stuff and analyzing results, and that's this isn't really a mistake, but it's something I don't like sometimes calling mistakes things you don't do for some reason, but it's not really a mistake. It's just things that people don't do. Is KPIs, not analyzing your KPIs, which is your key performance indicators. And Instagram, I don't know, I think everyone watching back and watching now has definitely seen one of those posts where it was like, how to support a business owner without buying a service, and it was like, share, save, Instagram has a ranking of what they consider the most important in all of those. So it's really analyzing impressions, profile visits, website clicks, all of those things. So if you're writing long form content and it's getting no likes, but you posted an infographic with a snappy caption and you got 4 website visits or 4, it's all about listening at the end of the day to your audience.
It goes back to that, doesn't it?
It goes back to that. And these are just general tips, but if you're seeing different results, you can throw what anyone says to you out the window, because you're looking at your business and your results and doing what you need to do for your audience. And I think that's, as you say, it goes back to really listening.
So really, there's a development of a product or service, and then the development of the content you kind of look at it like a product and service as well, because it's like an extension of your product and of your brand. And
Yeah.
you have, just like everything, I always jump up and down about this, test. Like you have to test and look at, don't ignore the numbers and the insights and all that information. That's your audience telling you what they want and what they love, you know.
Yeah.
So, you know, and to just on the testing bit, so, oh no, I'm gonna get
everyone does that, it's fine.
I'm gonna say instead. What was I gonna say? Oh yes, just on the testing bit, how long should you test something like in the SEO kind of for online, social online? How long should you test your keywords, like for actual or how can you see the results on that?
With like, okay, so let's just look about the connection between social media and Google Analytics for a second, because obviously if you're viewing insights on actual Instagram, it's only going to tell you numbers of clicks. It's not going to actually show you like your performance of a post.
Yeah.
How you really look at the performance of your post, going back to this kind of, I'm going to overlap a lot of things here because I need to iron it out in my head.
Yeah.
When you're writing a post, it needs to have a purpose. What's the purpose of the post? Is it to get someone to a website? Is it to click to a blog? Is it to check out an offer? What's the purpose of it? And that goes to calls to action. And calls to action, which is a little bit, we're not really talking about SEO, but it's just as important. Mm-hmm. The instruction is just as important. If you're looking at results of how well your keywords are doing, I would be looking at how effective it was to lead them through to whatever the call to action was. Mm-hmm. Google Analytics, which people are like, please don't talk to me about Google Analytics, but I love it now because you can literally see how many people came from your post.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Once you make friends with it, it's like, oh, the new edition, like it's
hideous at the start. I'm not going to lie, it's absolutely the worst at the start. But just with keywords, like you're going to see what works.
Yeah.
You're going to see your engagement go up. You're going to see. And I'm not a big thing about like you need to have X amount of followers. It's not about the followers. It's about the people who are engaging with you and the people that actually are going to be convertible members of your audience. That could be 10 people. That could be, you don't need 10,000 followers to be fully booked or to have all your services booked out or to have all your products booked out. But it's about understanding the numbers. And the only numbers that really matter is how many people, as I said, are engaging, commenting, sharing. And naturally your followers are going to go up if you're doing it properly because you're going to be attracting the right people.
Yeah.
So it's not about follow trains are great and like get like finding those people on different platforms to like, you know, to bring them over to kind of enjoy your content and services. But at the end of the day, authentic growth comes audience and understanding your KPIs and seeing what's working. But it's all about engagement. It's all about engagement on Instagram.
I love that you brought this up because this is a huge one for me. And I think people, and I see this all the time, even with different people in my space, they're obsessed with the growth of their Instagram account. And I'm going, but like what are the conversions on the other end? Like where are the sales coming from? Like it's all great having 1 million followers, but as you say, if none of them are your buyers, then like it's just an ego thing, isn't it? Like, and I really think that's something you have to pay attention to. And it flips back then to the importance of the SEO bit. Mm-hmm. You want to be found by the people that are actually searching for what you have to offer.
Exactly.
Not just, you know, to follow you to tell you that, you know, your reels are great. Like, you know, I mean, they're not going to necessarily be a customer of yours, you know. It's so important. And I love that you brought that up because we all get stuck with that kind of, you know, ego thing.
It is an ego thing, and it's this comparisonitis thing that we fall into, and I think it comes from you're kind of just thrown in the deep end when you start a business, and you don't have, you're kind of looking for places to gauge your success. And I think that's one of the things people fall into is looking at a number and going, oh, well, I have 100 more followers than her, so I'm more successful. She could be fully booked for the next 12 months.
That's right.
You know, and because
Right.
it has nothing. And like when I started my business, I used to get probably 4 times the amount of views on my stories, and it started to depress me when they're going down. And when I looked at it, I was like, a girl I went to I was in school with in secondary school. You know, like it's people that are never going to buy from you. They're
Exactly.
stalking you. Like they're not going
Yeah,
to buy from you. So
exactly.
the number means nothing, and it's. I think if you're intentional and you're coming from a place of authenticity, and yes, we want people to enjoy what we're providing. We want to provide value, but they need to be people who are actually are actually going to find value and
Yeah,
are actually going to potentially want to work with you or want to buy.
exactly.
So it's
Exactly.
hard. It is
It
hard
is
to get
hard.
on the numbers.
It is. And I think they're great pointers now for getting the right people to find you. And hey, Vali says, I'd rather have less followers but fully booked. Well, that's it.
Exactly.
Like, yeah, there you go. And it's okay to have less followers, and in your business that what your revenue looks like, and you can see the orders coming in. Your social media audience mightn't see it, and that's another
Hmm.
prompt for, well, share that out as well, like celebrate that.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're like, I know Danielle from Naturally at the Wren's Nest just came in there. Danielle's brilliant at showcasing, she's wrapping all her amazing soaps and oils, and she shows the post packages going out, like, and you can
Amazing.
see, wow, they're all her, she's loads of people buying from her. That's amazing, and that has
So, yeah.
huge value for
Social
your
proof.
for
Huge.
other people going, I want some of that. All those, they don't look
Yeah.
at your followers on
No.
Instagram and go, oh,
No.
but she only has like 300 followers. They look at the thing, the
Yeah.
post of the products going out to post, or in whatever, or you, if you're in service, that you're sharing your one-to-one screenshot and my 5th client this week. You know what I mean? And that's the
100%.
interesting content, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Social proof is absolutely huge, and
Yeah,
it's something that people rely on other people's opinions about a product or service rather than anything else.
that's
Anything else.
right.
But yeah, it's just
That's
it.
brilliant, Jeannie. And just, I didn't ask you how many pointers you have, because we could
Oh yeah,
probably.
sorry. I know we could be here all day. No, I kind of hit on basically everything, but just making
Yeah,
sure. Just now, let's look at your profile though. Let's look at your actual profile on Instagram.
on Instagram, okay.
So your username and your name on Instagram, if possible, does need to be optimized. It needs to be at least describe exactly who you are and what you do. So if this is, I think an example, let's look at an Irish audience. One would be like Irish Gifts Ireland. That could be a part of your name or your username.
Yeah,
If you're a service-based provider, being very specific about what you offer.
yeah.
Vital, because those are searchable.
Okay, so that's the piece where I'm just looking at my where I have Tara Business Mentor. That's what you're talking about. That's the searchable bit.
Yeah, but also the your actual handle. So
The
like
handle as well.
yeah. So
Okay.
my handle, which is hard because it's just going to be your business name most of the time. So like my
Yeah.
handle is content creative, and then my actual username is and then I can't even remember what it is now, content marketing something, I can't even remember.
Yeah.
But making sure that if possible both, but it's really hard to get your handle because it's just going to be your name or your business name, which might not reflect exactly what your service is, which is fine. But that one under, yeah, the main one.
The main one.
And your bio, again, just optimize it.
Yeah.
Think of an alien looking at it. Would an alien be able to know exactly what you offered and you did if they read that for the first time? That's what it needs to do.
Okay.
And again, it's because if you have to think about your ideal client, what would they be putting in to both Google and Instagram? What are they going to be searching to find what you offer?
Mm-hmm.
And if it doesn't match up and it isn't clear, they're not going to find you. So it's really as simple as that. But that's where I would start. Yeah, your handle, your username, your bio. Yeah, and just, I mean, your picture doesn't really matter.
And listen, while people are doing that, is there any tool that they can use to find keywords? Is there any tool you'd recommend?
So There are so many of them. They're mostly paid, but they all offer free versions. So if you're starting out and you want to experiment with finding keywords, I would just completely take advantage of all the free tools you can find.
Yeah.
Uber suggests, again, I can write these down for you.
Yeah.
Uber suggests, I have a paid version, but they do have a free version.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the best ones
Yeah, he's
around.
brilliant. Neil Patel,
Brilliant,
he's
Neil Patel.
amazing.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
brilliant. Keysearch.co, I love. Again, they have a free option. You can find so many resources on how to find keywords from Moz, which are a huge SEO
Yeah.
company. What's the other one that's huge? Azra, what are they called? I'll write a list, but there's a few. But
Yeah, but they're great. Just to have 3 reference points would be brilliant.
yeah,
I know people will write them down. They'll go over and just start doing that work. And I love that you say that, because when you're starting out, gang, and you've a million outgoings and you're trying to keep costs down, which is really important, you know, batch research with your free trial on your on Uber Suggest, like go right, I'm going to just spend the next 2 days
yeah,
researching and get all my keywords as much as I can for
exactly.
free, and really kind of
Free.
batch it. Yeah, and then have
Definitely.
something to work with.
For sure. I was going to say something about. There's another one just which is if you're looking to write content, which I just think is brilliant, is Answer the Public.
Oh
And what
yeah,
I love it.
yeah,
It's
a
free.
great one. It's a great
Basically, they compile all the autocomplete sentences from Google. So if you start typing in and you see like it fills in the gaps, it gives you suggestions. Those are based on what people search the most. So you can actually find keywords from that. But Answer the Public compiles it all into a document for you, and it's all very
Yeah,
great.
it's a lovely experience too, isn't it? When you land in it, you're like, oh, yeah,
I know,
it's
yeah.
really nice.
But yeah, start with the freeze. For
That's,
some with resources, it can get overwhelming, but just start small, get your free trials,
yeah,
and just play around with them.
and try and just go in and work on those key things.
Exactly.
I just wanted to read out a few comments before you go, because I know we're way over time. So our Artie Terra Pigelska. I'm so sorry, I can't pronounce yours. Sorry, but you put in, mine is Artie, the thing that I can't pronounce, Gestalt. I am a Gestalt therapist. It doesn't have my name on it. But what I don't know what a Gestalt therapist is. So do people search Gestalt a therapist? So they're the kind of questions you have to ask yourself. And this is something I guess we all have to ask ourselves, like, what I have down for what I do, it makes sense to me, and it makes sense to people in my niche and in my field, but doesn't it make sense to, as Em says, an alien or a 5-year-old that you're going, do you know what this means? And
Yeah.
I think, you know, and again, I have no clue what Gestalt means, and I'm sorry.
Yeah. I think it's also, yeah, it's about understanding it. Does your ideal client know what they need, or do they think they need something else? I think that's like a thing as well. Like whatever that service or offering, like whatever problem it solves, is it the problem they're going to be focusing on, or do they actually know that that's what they need? But if you're concerned about whether people will actually understand, because I've never heard of that either, go onto one of those free tools and put it in, and you'll be able to see the volume of searches on Google of how many people actually search for the month. And if it's 0, to just think about how you might be able to word it in a way that would be more approachable to someone that doesn't actually know what they need yet. That would be my tip for that.
That's a great tip. I love that. And I'm really now interested to go off and search what Gestalt means. So thank you. I don't know what your name is, but thank you so much for bringing us to that attention to Gestalt therapy, whatever that is. Thank you for that. SE ranking is a great SEO tool too. Thanks, Philly, for that. And you're Italian. Oh, sorry. It's a special kind of therapy. Thanks, you answer me. Oh, you're so welcome. And we'll all be going searching for that now. Monica, thanks, Monica. But so that's really interesting. I love those really actionable steps. And Em is in with me in the Biscuit Factory on Monday. Now all the Biscuit Factory members are going, oh my God, freaking out. An hour. Your head's going to be melted.
No, it's approachable.
Em's going to do a workshop in with us in the Biscuit Factory. We do workshops every month in the Biscuit Factory with all our students in there. So it's going to be a great session. I'm really excited for that on Monday. And Thank you so much. Now, before we go, tell everybody where they can find you, what they should do, call to action, what they should do.
Honestly, I know how overwhelming this stuff is to start, and I'm never looking to get anything but like really just to help people and kind of start making new connections. So if you want to follow me on Instagram, it's just at m_content_creative. Yeah, like, DM me if you have any questions on what we talked about, if anything kind of springs to mind after you've watched all this. And there's no need to panic about SEO. I'm here to help. But that's it. Yeah, I just hope everyone kind of got some value out of it. And yeah, I'm actually so excited for Monday. It's going to be so much fun.
It'll be lots of fun. It'll be lots of fun. There's a big crew of us, and there's lots of interest in this. You know, it's demystifying it as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Making it accessible and not that big, scary, hairy thing that people think it is. Thank you so much for coming on, and I really appreciate it. And I'll see you Monday inside the factory. Thank you so much. You're so great. Thank you. I really enjoyed that.
Talk to you soon.
Thank you. And thanks to everyone watching. We will hit the comments as well with the bits that we talked about. Friday at 12:30 on the Friday takeaway. Have a lovely, lovely weekend and a lovely start of next week too. And that's it. Keep creative, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye. See you again. Bye.